UFC 283 just wrapped up in Brazil. Holy fuck, man. What a card. From top to bottom, that shit was fun. That was a fun card to watch, especially coming back from a decently stacked but pretty tame in comparison fight night. This was something else, man. Starting off the early prelims, we had Oliveira taking on Marcos. Simon Oliveira taking on... I don't even remember his first name, to be honest. So buzzed from that main event. That main event was crazy, man. I picked Marcos by TKO in the second or third round, and he got a second round TKO. He looked good, man. He looked good. He did what I expected him to. He pressured Oliveira, made Oliveira throw a lot, spin, miss. That was Oliveira's main problem. He just kept throwing spinning attacks, elbows and whatnot. And a couple of the back fists caught him, but it just didn't look like he had enough power to do anything with it. And it was making me nervous throughout the fight because I didn't want to start my whole night of predictions off poorly. But yeah, Marcos gets it done, improves to 14-0, and he looked good. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him in his next bout, especially because this is basically him off of a 3-year layoff. His last fight was a Contender Series fight, and before that, he hadn't fought in 3 years. So that's damn impressive that he can come out here and do that to somebody like Simon Oliveira in his first UFC bout. Moving on up the card in the women's featherweight division, we had Josiane Nunes versus Zarah Fairn. That was actually a lot more of a competitive scrap than I think anybody thought it was going to be, especially considering the favorite that Nunes was. Fairn was using her like 7-8 inch height advantage and her massive reach advantage to great use, to be honest. She really was. She was piecing her up at the beginning, piecing her up with the 1-2, piecing her up with body knees, landing over and over with the leg kick. She was comboing it together. She just looked like she was in a flow state. She was laughing. She was having fun. But Josiane Nunes just kept the pressure on her and kept landing, and eventually she wiped that smile away with her hooks. And honestly, it was pretty impressive to see a little 5'2" motherfucker just storming her down every single round. The judges had it 2-1. That's also how I had it. I had the first round to Fairn and the last 2 to Nunes. So now we're moving up the card. We're 2-0. Into the third fight, and this is one that I was like almost the most nervous for outside of like the Burns fight, which I didn't need to be in retrospect, and the Figgy fight. Yeah, I had Nicolas Dalby getting it done by a UD or by a late TKO, and he got it done by a unanimous decision. And he was an underdog pick. I forgot to mention Marcos was an underdog pick. So that's 2 underdog picks of the card so far, and 3-0. Dalby just basically picked him apart. He would get him up in the clinch, and then he would land knees like in a cadence or in a rhythm like every 2 seconds. I think a lot of people don't like that style, but I'm not going to lie. He made it look fun. Like, usually I can't stand clinching up against the cage, just holding your opponent there, barely landing anything. It seemed like a solid part of his game plan. He was doing damage over time with those shots. They were good shots. There was a couple moments where he got caught, but it was never too bad. And yeah, Warlley Alves sucks. I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know how he went from being the tough champ to beating Colby Covington, and then now just looking like a 50-50 fighter. Alright, up the card into the lightweight division, we have Terrance McKinney taking on Ismael Bonfim, and man, this is another one that I was nervous about in my prediction video. I called it, man. I literally said Ismael Bonfim is somebody that should not be counted out, and if it goes past the first round, I don't even know if I could have it for McKinney anymore. And even in the first round, McKinney was getting pieced the fuck up by this dude. The UFC has their version of the Pitbull brothers now. I'm convinced of it. The Bonfim brothers, something else. I'm going to make an entire video separate from this, dedicated to the Brazilian fighters and upcoming prospects that we need to look out for, because tonight produced a fucking lot of them. But yeah, man, Bonfim was just piecing McKinney up. It seemed like he was out grappling him. He was defending the takedowns. He was just making him look like a McKinney that none of us know and recognize at all. He didn't seem like the crazy first round freak with insane grappling strength, long limbs, and ridiculous punch power. He got neutralized, dude, and it looked like he was fighting against like a Brazilian version. Well, I don't know if the Pitbull brothers are already Brazilian, but it literally looked like it was another version of the little one, the featherweight one. I'm forgetting his name right now. The way he fought, his stature, his fucking bulky ass back, that's what it seemed like to me. Just in the second round, lands a jumping knee. I think that's what it is. The left knee, and then he landed the right knee when McKinney went to eat the left knee. And man, put him the fuck out, and it didn't look like he had any room being in there with this dude. So this guy, definitely somebody that you want to look out for in the lightweight division. He could shake shit up in the top 15, 100%, no doubt in my mind. Moving on up the card. So see, that last one, that was a real loss. This next one, bullshit. Close fights aren't robberies. Close fights aren't robberies. No, there's fucking close fights that can be straight robberies. And Lacerda versus Stamann, an example of that. All 3 judges gave Stamann a 29-28. How do you give Stamann the 3rd round? In what fucking universe, with this rule set, do you give Stamann the 3rd round of that fight? He's eating body kicks, running around the cage the whole fucking time. And if it's not the 3rd round they gave him, what round was it? What 2 rounds was it, I'm sorry? Because it seems like they gave him round 2, which I also did, and round 3. I haven't looked at the cards yet. But if I see round 3 on there, I can't even say I'm going to lose my shit, because this is what we're used to as MMA fans. Ridiculous judging. It was horrible. Lacerda won that fight in my opinion, rounds 1 and rounds 3. But Stamann got the decision, so it is what it is. It's kind of annoying, but whatever. Robbed Lacerda of his moment. Robbed me of being basically undefeated so far, even though I already had a loss before that. I mean, on paper, I'm 2 for 2 right now. I'm 3 for 2 right now in the prelims, but like in my head, I'm fucking 4-1. All right, now moving on up to the prelim headliner. This, not much to say on it. What happened is what everybody expected to happen. Jailton Almeida versus Shamil Abdurakhimov. Jailton Almeida took him down, bullied him in the first. Was starting to do it again in the second until he got the TKO, like he does in every fight. Escaped, lab experiment. He's a fucking freak of nature. Carved out of like Brazilian supplements, testosterone, million stone. Not much else to say on it. Like I said in my prediction, I feel like this guy is a future champion. He's definitely future championship material. He just needs to tighten up his striking. Other than that, can't say much. Solid way to end the prelims. Ended it 4-2, technically, on paper. Really 5-1, let's be real. If you guys have fucking eyes, you know that Lacerda got robbed. Moving on up into the prelims. Another one of the Bonfim brothers taking on Mounir Lazzez. This one I actually did vote for, and thank fuck he got a round 1 sub. Pretty quickly snatched up that guillotine. Lazzez, for some reason, showing some real big brain fight IQ, shot a ill-advised takedown, got his neck wrapped up instantly, choked out. And this is the undefeated Bonfim brother. I think he's in the welterweight division. Yeah, welterweight. Dude, both these guys could be champions. Like I'm really saying the UFC has found their Pitbull brothers. Not even much more to say on this guy. He looked great. Can't wait to see him in more fights. Another undefeated fighter on the card that continues his streak. Moving on to a kind of a mismatch because Thiago Moiseś, his original dance partner, fell through. Thiago Moiseś versus Costa. I went with Thiago Moiseś. Picked him by sub, 2nd or 3rd round, and he got a 2nd round sub. Just kind of basically pressured Costa. Was outstriking him too, to be honest. He would start off a combination or start an exchange. He would let Melky land the 2nd or 3rd strike, and then he would find his way away from those strikes or taking minimal damage, rolling with them and whatnot, and then landing on the end with his own strike. And they seemed to be doing more damage. You know, Melky seemed like a really good fighter. He was definitely doing better than I think most of us thought he would. But he also just kind of seemed like a UFC 4 player that just learned how to do some spinning kicks and learned how to like combo together some kickboxing and went out there and was like, fuck it, I'm going to take out Thiago Moiseś, who went 4 rounds with Islam, the champ. So yeah, I mean, I felt like that one was just kind of a given. The odds reflected that. Moiseś gets it done. 2 in a row, 2 subs in a row. What more can you ask for? Alright, moving on up the prelims. My L for the prelims. Because I'm going to spoil it for you guys now. I only take 1 loss throughout each section of the card. If you don't count the Lacerda Stamann one. If you don't, it's 1 loss on the early prelims, 1 loss on the prelims, 1 loss on the main card. And this is my prelim loss. And I even said in my prediction video we could be talking about Ferreira as an upcoming middleweight prospect after this fight. He has that type of knockout power. He has that one-shot potential. First round, he goes in there. They're trading a little bit. RoboCop's looking good. But Ferreira looks really good for somebody that's debuting. And he continues his undefeated streak. The third fighter on this card to do so. He kind of like throws one punch, baits the other, but pulls it away the last second. And then boom, stiff down the pipe. I think it was with his left hand. So it was more like boom. It was clean as fuck. I can't believe he did that to RoboCop. Roboroids. Blew my mind in the moment. Maybe just because I was frustrated that I had to add another loss to the record tonight, but it is what it is. Ferreira looks good. I'm looking forward to seeing him in that division when he actually has time to prepare for somebody. I think this one was on like 9 days notice. Alright, now the finale of the prelims. Our farewell to an MMA GOAT, Shogun. Yeah, nah, it was bad. I picked Ihor Potieria by like a first or second round TKO, and he got a first round TKO. Shogun just could not take any hits, and Ihor didn't look good either. He didn't look like he was really landing with much power. He looked kind of quick. That was about it. Decent movement. But yeah, man, Shogun was just not in it. Too old, man. And even though I'm pretty sure he's like only a year older, if not maybe like a couple months older than Glover, he looks way older when he's fighting. Like, it's kind of amazing how well Glover wears that shit. And we'll get to it later on. Because, man, I love that dude, Glover. But yeah, nah, Ihor gets it done. First round TKO. So, I finished 3-1 on the prelims. 5-1 on the early prelims. Move on into the main card now. And this is where shit gets real good. Because for a minute, I was on a roll. And I was feeling myself. I went with Johnny Walker in this fight. Johnny Walker versus Paul Craig. I went with Johnny Walker. And I went with him by like a first or second round KO, TKO, and he got a first round KO. He threw a kick at one point. Basically was just landing leg kicks the whole time. But yeah, he throws a body kick on Paul Craig. Paul Craig catches it, and then he lands a straight into a hook or some shit on him. And Paul Craig has no fucking chin. Like I said in my prediction video, no chin, can't take that shit. And he got knocked the fuck out pretty quickly. I mean, Johnny Walker's a freak athlete. And he gets it done. First round TKO. I'm really looking forward to him moving up the division now. This is his second chance at moving up the rankings after his skid that he went on. And he looks refined. He looks like he's in the right headspace now, and I'm looking forward to seeing him climb that ladder. Moving on, we had Jessica Andrade taking on Lauren Murphy, and I went with Andrade by a unanimous decision. And in the first round, it was really looking like she was just going to knock her the fuck out, honestly. Pressuring her, landing basically like she couldn't miss. It was ridiculous, and it carried on all 3 rounds. There's not really much to say on it. Murphy was tough. She was showcasing her toughness. It's not that great when you're doing that. It means you're not doing shit otherwise, and this is all that they can compliment you for. They being the fans, the judges, front desk, all that. Picked Andrade, she gets it done by a UD. What more can you ask for? Moving on up the card, this is one that I think I was like the most nervous for, and I really don't know why now, because it ended up being a quick first round sub for Gilbert Burns. But yeah, Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny. I picked Burns, TKO or decision. But he ends up picking up Magny, putting him on his ass, and pretty quickly securing mount, and even quicker than that, he secures an arm triangle. Magny's good, but he's really just a gatekeeper. Like, I did not think that Burns was going to be able to do that to him. I said in my prediction video that his jits is for sure overrated, and I still believe that. He has not shown enough. This is only like his second sub in like his first sub, first of all, in like years. But I think it's only his second sub in the UFC. Y'all can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But yeah, man, he adds one. Shows that he's still in this bitch at the top. He had, a fresh cut too. Burns with the waves. He was looking good. Got the sub. Helped out my parlay, so you know what? I'm not mad at it. We're 3 in a row now so far on the main card. But this is where it all tumbles. Figgy versus Moreno 4. I went with Figgy by a third round TKO. Figgy ends up losing by doctor stoppage right before the 4th round. Right? 4th round? I believe so, yeah. Upsetting stuff, but I mean, to be honest, Moreno was dominating for pretty much the whole fight. I had him losing the first round. I don't know why everyone was saying 3-0 on Twitter and in the commentary booth, but then the judges had it 2-1 like it should be. They had the wrong round though, bruh, because they all unanimously had it as the second round for Figgy, and it was the first, in my opinion. And then after the first round, Moreno just steamrolled. But yeah, I mean, this is honestly better for flyweight because Moreno can make the weight better. He doesn't need to leave it. It would have just caused disarray if Figgy was to win and then move up like he's been planning to. So, I mean, I'm not mad at the end of the day. In retrospect, I should have just went with Moreno. I was telling myself, like, Moreno 7 times out of 10 probably wins. But I was just trusting Figgy to come in here and, like a dog, like that dog that he is. The dog that Figgy is. I thought he was going to come in there, spark Moreno, maybe choke him out, or just take him out of there with strikes, but it didn't happen. Good shit to Moreno. I'm not mad that he's the champion again. It was good. I'm not going to say it was a good fight. It was alright. Compared to all the other 3, it was worse than all the other 3. But it had its moments. It wasn't the worst fight on the card. We move on to the main event. Glover Teixeira versus Jamahal Hill. I picked Jamahal Hill by a late stoppage TKO. It looked like it was going to happen multiple times. He ends up just winning every round, dominating Glover over decision, which I'm pretty sure nobody thought would happen. If somebody told me that this fight would for sure end in a decision, I probably would have picked Teixeira. But yeah, nah. I picked Hill. That's 2 main events in a row now. I picked Strickland last time. I thought Hill was the underdog, but he ended up being the favorite once the fight actually started. But I know Strickland was the underdog all the way through and through, and I feel like I basically picked 2 underdogs because I didn't see many people going for Hill. And I'm pretty sure on verdict, he was the underdog, but I'm not positive. He looked good. He went from number 7 to champ, and he looked way better in this fight than he has in a lot of others. He was piecing Teixeira up. Teixeira looked bloodied. He was getting hit with that head kick when he would switch to southpaw, but he would always come back swinging. He got multiple takedowns at different points, established good control, but Hill's grappling was just better than what I think most people would have expected. It was better than what I expected for sure. He came in here, he showed that he's been putting work in, and that this win streak he's on is deserved. Do I think that he's going to keep the belt till the end of the year? Fuck no, especially not if Yuri comes back. But I think he could do work, honestly, and I think that he's going to be around at the top for a while because he's pretty young, and he's really young in his career. I think he's only like 12-1, 13-1, 11-1, something along those lines. So not many fights, man. And now he's the light heavyweight champion. And also, fun fact, something that I really like about this, being an American myself, is besides Aljamain, he's the only other American champion. I think John Jones is going to join that list later this year. So I'm hoping that we'll have 3 all black dudes, my guys. We representing out here. Second American champion. I feel like we don't see many American champions in general, especially not nowadays in the UFC. Hell of a card. Glover Teixeira is one of my favorite fighters. Like, every time he fights, he just shows it more and more and more. I hope he fucking retires after this, because that was way too much damage to be continuing this bullshit. Like, I don't think he's going to be champ again. His style matchup was Jan. I picked him against Jan. I knew he was going to fuck Jan up. And I feel like what he did against Yuri was mind-blowing to me, because I thought he had no chance against someone as young and as athletic and as aggressive. I had no idea it was going to happen like that. And when he did that, he proved to a lot of people that, like, why Glover is the man. He's a Brazilian bear. I almost went against my gut and picked him, but I trusted Hill, and I'm glad I did. We're 2 for 2 this year. Catch you guys, though. I'm hoping to be, like, one of the first YouTubers to be getting this breakdown out, because I know usually it takes a lot of other people a lot of time. But I was on it tonight, you know? The second those fights ended, the second Hill got his speech in, and Teixeira got his speech in, shut that shit off, got to my notes, got to the camera, need to get this shit out to you guys. And yeah, I'll see you guys later on this week with more probably early predictions, fight news, whatever it be. I'll be here covering it. Yeah, I'll catch y'all. Love y'all.